Hello everybody, and welcome back. My name is Carrie, and today I am doing my September and October wrap-up. So, I hate editing when I have my glasses on, because I can see the rings. Anyway, quick update. I planned to film in October, and then it just straight up didn't happen. Life happened instead, and I didn't have the energy. So, I'm doing both September and October wrap-up, and I'm doing a September-October combined haul. So, let's see, those are all in my pile here. First one that I read that is not in my pile, oh no, I forgot. First one, Bedazzled by Patricia Small. This is a romance my cousin gave me. High school me would have loved me, but high school me had very little experience in the world about anything. So it would have just hit the spot for me. Nowadays, it was super chaste, so I gave that one 2 stars. It was just dull. Again, it would have been perfect for high school me, but I'm no longer in high school. Then I read, the next one is Minnesota's Geologist by the Life of Newton Horace Winchell by Sue Leaf. I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was great. I read this one so that I could annotate it for Abby from Abby of Pellinnor's birthday. Her birthday is 2 days prior to mine, both of them in October. And she has a master's in geohazards, so geology is her jam. I had been eyeballing this book for her for a while and decided that I wanted to annotate it for her. So when she goes through, she can read my little, hopefully legible, notes about various things, including, you know, where certain cities in Minnesota are. Like I said, I really enjoyed the book. I think it did a good job of balancing the geology aspects and his personal life. They were both fascinating. I have to say though, it does help living in Minnesota with the context of, oh, he was up on the Iron Range. Oh, he was down in farm country. Oh, this is why it's different out in the Northwest. Because I've been to all those places. Lived in at least 2 of them. Ish. So it helps to have that context. But I also was aware of that going into it and tried to help provide that in some of my annotations for her. So, Abby, hopefully those are helpful. I also read Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Embolia, which is the first in the Tristan Strong series under the Rick Riordan Presents imprint. English hard. This is gonna go great. So, I gave this one 4 stars as well. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I learned a lot about African American culture and history. It's not something that's taught in a lot of schools. It might be taught more down south. I don't know. Didn't go to school down there. But we didn't focus on it in my school, and it was 99.9% white. It is what it is. There are reasons books are around, so I can now read things like Tristan Strong and enjoy a story while learning. It's fantastic. Or I can read one of my many nonfiction books and, you know, learn more that way as well. So I am working on fixing that lack in my education. But I love this book. I think it was fantastic. The pacing was great. The snark was there. The emotions were there. Like, it was just, and Gum Baby, oh my god, so cute. Just this, I imagine Gum Baby as this, like, sappy little gingerbread man from Shrek, kind of, with the gumdrop buttons and everything. Look, this is where my brain goes. And so imagining that just leaving big sappy footprints is just the funniest thing in my head. And then the first book I read in September was The Griffin and the Dinosaur, How Adrienne Mayer Discovered a Fascinating Link Between Science and Myth, which is a children's book I got for my cousin, because the entire family got COVID over the course of about 6 weeks. I'm in Willow by Helen Frost, which I borrowed from the middle cousin that I live with. She's 9. This is a story about a native, like, half indigenous Alaskan, half white girl fiction told in diamond poetry. I loved the shape, I guess. I don't know, I love the manner of it, and then there was a poem within each poem. I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I think there could have been a little bit more. It was kind of flat towards the end, but I did really enjoy the story. The next one was Never Fall Down by Patricia McCormick, which I borrowed from my boss. This is a historical fiction about the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. Khmer Rouge was a despotic, tyrannical, brutal, harsh, horrible regime in the 70s, from what I can tell. And again, not something that I was taught about. I think it was mentioned in my world history class. But it was one of those like, here's a line, Khmer Rouge, Cambodia, bad. Alright, thank you, bye. I don't know. So that was less fun, really. But this book, Patricia McCormick, is of Cambodian heritage and was adopted by an American couple, if I'm not mistaken. And she went and talked to one of the child soldiers from the Khmer Rouge who had been in a village and basically pressed into service by the Khmer Rouge. Not good. And she puts his story down in writing. She uses his intonations, his not quite dialect, but his English isn't textbook English, right? English is not his native language, and so she doesn't tell the story in a smoothly flowing form of prose, which I think added something to the story as well. I give that one a 4 stars. There were bits that I think could have benefited from being fleshed out a little bit more. However, I also recognize that I am not the person who looks at things and goes, oh my god, and just starts sobbing. I have to have, I don't know, some unnaturally strong connection to feel emotion when I read. I don't know why, but people look at me funny. But I have a hard time saying something was hard to read, because I can read the worst of it and not flinch. But that's me, and I'm still working on it. Next one was Crown of Bones. I gave this 2 stars. It was a fantasy, and one, I could not stand the female narrator. She overemphasized everything that she said, and it drove me freaking nuts. I can't stand it when narrators do that. So that, didn't love that. And then the plot was just lackluster. I called it from the beginning. First hour, I listened to it on audiobook. First hour, I went, oh, that's gonna happen. What happened at the end of a 15-hour audiobook? Exactly what I said. So that was... Foreshadowing is lovely and good, but it should be foreshadowing to the point where I can't predict it within the first hour. So it was just, I didn't enjoy it. And then the last one, or rather the first one, was Their Eyes Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, which I read for my book club. This one I gave 3 stars. I can understand why it's a classic. I don't think you should read it in print. I read it in print, and reading the dialect was hard, because it is written in deep South American English. And it's, oh god. Apparently, if you listen to it on audiobook, it is so phenomenal. That's my plan for the next go round, because I do want to reread that book. I want to get what you're supposed to get out of it, and I didn't really feel like I did. Although my book club did have a great conversation about racism, colorism, you know, all that kind of stuff. So having a discussion about it was very helpful. I didn't enjoy the experience of physically reading the book. Hudson Bay Bound by Natalie Warren. This is a book about the first 2 women to canoe from Minneapolis down here in Minnesota all the way up to Hudson Bay. It's about 2,000 miles. It took them 85 days. This was fantastic. I got it signed, and I loved it. It is very accessible. It's not cute, I won't say that, but it addresses the idea that women aren't expected to be able to do everything that men can do, and you know, that kind of stuff, because paddling 2,000 miles is hard. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Elizabeth of York by Alison Weir, because I don't know much about Elizabeth of York, but she's kind of important because she marries Henry VII. Yep. I'm concerned I confuse her and Elizabeth Woodville. I don't. Elizabeth Woodville is Elizabeth of York's mother. Yes, mother of Henry VIII, wife of Henry VII. Loved this. I gave the Hudson Bay Bound 5 stars. I gave this 5 stars as well, I think. Next was The Fires of Vengeance, which is the second in the Rage of Dragons series by Evan Winter. Won't say much, but there's women who can call dragons, and there's men who turn into big hulking super soldiers, and we're all trying to survive. So I loved this. Deep fantasy, Africans, specifically Xhosa inspired, and it's phenomenal. Gave this 5 stars as well. There's also LGBTQ plus rep. Then I read Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy, which is the first book in this series of like 14 books. Abby from Abbey of Pelennor turned me onto this. It is a girl in Ireland. She's about 12, 11 when we start. She meets a living skeleton detective, which, you know, will throw anybody for a loop. I thought this was perfect for October and the whole, you know, Halloween thing. So read this, loved it, 5 stars. I also read The Ever-Cruel Kingdom by Rin Chapeka, which is the second in this duology. There's a world, one side is super gold, one side is super hot. 2 sisters who are twins, but they don't know about each other, try to fix the world because it broke. Loved this as well, thought it was fantastic, actually got choked up. 5 stars. Then we read Beowulf, a new translation by Maria Devana Headley, which basically takes the idea that anything translated from something before 1950 has to be in an archaic and Elizabethan type of English is wrong, or at least an archaic type of idea, and anachronistic. And she uses words like bro and hashtag, made this so much more accessible, and it was actually funny, and I thoroughly loved this. I highly recommend it if you are looking for a Beowulf translation. I think I gave that 5 stars as well. Read The Bone Witch by Rin Chapeka, which is the first in this trilogy. The first line is fantastic. Let me be clear, I never intended to raise my brother from his grave, no matter what he says. This teenager has the ability to essentially be a necromancer. Animancer, I think, is the word. And things happen because of that. So that was really, really cool. Definitely dark, but I loved this. 5 stars. And then in September, the last one was The Glass Queen by Gina Showalter. This is the second in her Evil Queen series. And this is a Cinderella retelling, if I'm not mistaken. I will say I didn't like this one quite as much as the first one. The first one was an automatic 5 stars, this one got 4 stars, but it was still a really fun, enjoyable, different fairy tale retelling. Then we have The Ivory Vikings by Nancy Marie Brown, which is nonfiction, and it talks about the Lewis chess set in relation to the Vikings and how we figure out, or try to figure out, who made this set and why we got there. It was fascinating. Then I read All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. This is a series, it's a duology. I'm going to read the second one sometime this year. Oh no, this is where the animance comes. Bone Witch is straight up necromancy. So there's a princess, she's supposed to show her power over her animancy. And things go very, very horribly wrong. And so she ends up not doing what she was supposed to do and goes on the run with a pirate who has another secret of his own, and things develop. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought this was great. It's definitely a nautical, mermaidy, pirate themed book, which just is right up my alley. Then I read Pride and Premeditation by Tirza Price. I freaking loved this. 5 stars. This is a Jane Austen Pride and Prejudice retelling in the form of a murder mystery, and it's fantastic. In this one, Jane is an aspiring woman solicitor at her father's firm, or would be if her father would let her be. But, you know, it's the 1800s? Unclear, because I don't know when this is initially set, but somewhere in there. And women can't be solicitors. But she has to prove to her father that she can be, and so this is how she does it. It's fantastic. Then I read Where the Light Falls by Alison and Owen Pataki. I gave this 3 stars. So you follow 2 men, and I honestly didn't care for really either of them. They don't interact until the middle of the book, which is less helpful to me. One of them is an attorney, so I thought that was interesting. One of them is a nobleman who's renounced his nobility, because, you know, French Revolution, you die if you don't. And it left a lot to be desired. I usually like Alison Pataki, but that was not my favorite. I also read Cocaine Blues by Carrie Greenwood, which is part of the Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries book series. I love the TV series, and I've been wanting to buy the books for a while. So, bought the first one, read the first one, it's less than 200 pages. It's fantastic. They did add or combine some stuff as you do for a TV show, but overall they kept remarkably close to the general, A, the general vibe they nailed, and B, they kept pretty close to the actual plot and characters, which I love. So 5 stars, because it's fantastic. I also read Snow White and Rose Red by Patricia Reedy. I think I gave this 3 stars. It's a fun retelling, but it's never going to be my favorite. 2 sisters, there's fae involved, so if you're into fae, this is definitely right up your alley, but it's not my type of fae. Last but definitely not least, I read Daughter of the Deep by Riordan, which came out on October 26th. This is a retelling of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and it is fantastic. Love it. Words do not suffice. In 300-ish pages, he takes one of my favorite classics and just makes it 10 times better. I loved it, and God, I hope there's more. I don't think there is, but he left it open, and I don't know, and it's amazing. Go read it. 5 stars if you couldn't tell. So that is my September-October wrap-up. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you've read down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!